I got to give Brent Key a lot of credit. Georgia Tech was in a terrible spot under Jeff Collins, but Key has quickly rebuilt and turned around this program, leading them to their first winning season since 2018 just last year. Now this team is fully loaded, especially offensively, and they're looking to build on the success and the momentum that they carry into 2024, but that could be easier said than done with such a difficult schedule. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. So glad you could join us today to break down Georgia Tech's schedule and record for this upcoming season. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of our expert picks and our exclusive newsletters. Go check all of that out. Sign up for those today. You're going to get tons of exclusive content there. You're going to win big with us, as we have hit over 63% of our bets in our career and are beating out over 80% of the national handicappers each of the last 6 years. So go sign up for one of the best deals in the country over there and check out our mailing address to send us your team's gear. Our man Bill sent us that awesome Georgia Tech helmet back there, but we'd love to get some more of your teams represented in every single video. Again, all of that can be found down in the description below. So one thing that's really interesting to me about Brent Key, he has been an underdog ever since he took over at Georgia Tech. Took over as interim in 2022, had his whole first years with the program last year, led the Yellow Jackets to a 7-6 record, that bowl win over UCF. He's 11-10 as head coach at Georgia Tech. 9 of his 11 wins have come as an underdog. 4 of those 11 wins were ranked wins. All of those underdogs as well. 9 of the 11 wins he's racked up were as an underdog. That is absolutely amazing. But the thing is, he's going to have to win some more games as an underdog this year if he wants to replicate the success they had in 2023. And that's the thing, right? This Georgia Tech team isn't bad. It's just such a bad schedule. They are loaded across the board. Offensively, that is the strength of the team. The Yellow Jackets went from 17.2 points per game in 2022 all the way to 31.1 points per game in 2023. Nearly a 2-touchdown increase in the span of 1 year. And now they return 8 starters on that side of the ball, with Haynes King, their star quarterback, returning after over 2,800 yards and 27 touchdowns last year, and rushing for over 700 yards and 10 touchdowns. Jamal Haynes returns at running back after a 1,000-yard season in 2023. Their top 2 wide receivers do return in Eric Singleton and Malik Rutherford. Weston Franklin and Jordan Williams are all ACC selections on the offensive line. Remember, Brent Key was the offensive line coach before getting promoted to interim and then getting that tag removed. So he's going to have a very strong offensive line with the Yellow Jackets this year. The line as a whole has 128 combined starts. Georgia Tech is going to be dangerous offensively, and I don't know if there are many teams in the ACC that will be able to stop them. Defensively, though, that's where they have to improve. 5 starters are back on that side of the ball for the Yellow Jackets after giving up nearly 30 points per game and over 220 rushing yards per game. They've got a new defensive coordinator, Tyler Santucci from Duke. Did pretty well during his time at Duke with Mike Elko. But they've got to find a way to stop the run. They've got to find a way to get more pressure on the quarterback after only having 21 sacks in all of 2023. 3 of their top 4 tacklers do return this year, led by Kyle Efford at linebacker and Clayton Powell-Lee at safety. They added 3 big defensive line transfers to try to bulk up that line, create more pressure, and to stop the run. But can it be done? Will it happen? And the question is, if it does happen, how quickly will it happen? Because you take a look at what Georgia Tech's up against, it is tough. Opening the season against Florida State in Ireland. That's where we'll start, right? I think that's going to be a fun week 0 game. The eyes of the United States, the eyes of Ireland will be on this game. It's going to be a great way to kick off the season. And this is going to be a game where I think Georgia Tech gives Florida State more than they think, right? I think a lot of people look at this. Florida State's already a double-digit favorite. Beware of Brent Key if you're a double-digit favorite. And everybody thinks Florida State, the reigning champs of the ACC last year, are going to cruise past the Yellow Jackets, and I highly disagree. This game will be much closer and much more competitive than you think. A lot of key new pieces for Florida State, not the same for Georgia Tech. Ultimately, though, the Seminoles' defense will be way too much. They will find a way to slow down this Georgia Tech offense. They will force Haynes King into at least 2 mistakes. King, phenomenal last year, did have 16 interceptions, though. The Seminoles pull away in the second half to get the season-opening win, but Georgia Tech going to show a lot of fight in Ireland. They come back home, play Georgia State, win that 1-1, then go on the road to Syracuse. This is a tough tough game. Last year when Georgia Tech and Syracuse met, the Yellow Jackets won 31-22, but the Orange did not have a true quarterback under center. They were running out of the Wildcat for the majority of the game and had 206 rushing yards on the day. So again, Georgia Tech couldn't stop the run, but I think Syracuse probably could have challenged for a win in that game had they had a competent quarterback there, had they not gone through so many quarterbacks and injuries and things like that. Now the Orange have that. Kyle McCord, the former Ohio State quarterback, transfers in to the program. They've got LaQuint Allen back at running back. They've got a great pass-catching core and a very, very, very underrated defense, especially in the secondary. So I look at the Syracuse team, guys. I really, really like them. I'm not saying they're going to challenge for a title or anything in year one, but I think they're extremely underrated, especially with the first-year head coach. Now Georgia Tech going on the road. The road team has lost the last 3 meetings between these two squads. Give me Syracuse to win over Georgia Tech in what could be a shootout at the Carrier Dome. And I'm always going to call it the Carrier Dome, even though it has a new name now. But I like Syracuse in this game a lot with a quarterback. I think they could have won last year. They've got one now. I think they find a way to pull it off this year. So a disappointing start for Georgia Tech, 1-2, back-to-back conference losses. They beat VMI, they're 2-2, and that's when they enter the bulk of conference play. And that's where it's so tough, guys. You look at this schedule, look at what they got to go up against. I mean, Florida State was tough enough as it was. At Louisville, at North Carolina, Notre Dame in Atlanta, but Notre Dame still at Virginia Tech. They got to play Miami, then, Georgia, of course, in the season finale. They're not going to be favored in any of those games that we just mentioned, which means they're going to have to pull off some upsets if they want to get back to the postseason. They open up that conference play, or the majority of conference play, I should say, on the road at Louisville. The Cardinals are off a bye coming in to this game. And last year, the Cardinals were dominant at home, won all 6 of their home games, or 6 of their 7 home games, I should add, thanks Kentucky, by an average of 26.3 points per game. Last year, the Yellow Jackets in the season opener led Louisville 28-13, but then ultimately lost 39-34 in Atlanta. So, they showed they were able to hang with the Cardinals. But now on the road against a rested Louisville team, and a Louisville offense that is loaded from top to bottom, reloaded themselves to the transfer portal. I just don't see the Yellow Jackets being able to get the win now, especially with their defense still having some questions and this being a true road game for them. Give me the Cardinals to pull off this win, and they have a losing record heading into their first bye week. Thing is, Duke is a great way to get back on track. Duke with a first-year head coach and Manny Diaz. Major questions up front on the trenches. If you were concerned about Georgia Tech's defensive line, I think they flexed their muscle a little bit in this one because Duke's offensive line is going to be pretty bad in 2024. They should cruise past the Blue Devils, especially off that week of rest, and then they go to North Carolina. And this could be the game that is the tipping point on whether or not the Yellow Jackets get to a bowl game or whether or not they don't. And luckily for them, they have owned North Carolina over the last few years. They have won 3 straight games over the Tar Heels, every single one of them as double-digit underdogs over ranked North Carolina teams. So it doesn't matter if it's in Atlanta, doesn't matter if it's in Chapel Hill. Georgia Tech does not care. They believe, and they know, they can beat North Carolina. And I believe they're going to make it 4 in a row over the Tar Heels, even though it's on the road. Neither team, to me, has a great defense. North Carolina might improve a little bit, but the same can be said for Georgia Tech. Both teams are going to have a great offense, but right now I might even argue that Georgia Tech has the better offense than North Carolina right now. So I'm going to take the team that has the better offense, a defense that's just about as even as North Carolina, and clearly does not care if the game is on the road. They know they can beat UNC. UNC is going to be hungry for revenge. I don't think they can get it. This is a big game for the Yellow Jackets, and Brent Key once again comes through more than likely as an underdog in this game. So a massive win against UNC with the potential to be a shootout there. That's back-to-back conference wins, and they needed that because they're going to drop their next 2 games to Notre Dame and Virginia Tech. The Notre Dame game in Atlanta, practically a home game for the Yellow Jackets, is a trap game if I've ever seen one for the Fighting Irish. They have college football playoff aspirations, have a very favorable schedule this year. If they overlook Georgia Tech, it could shake up the entire college football world. I don't think the Fighting Irish do that. But I think this game is a lot closer than people think. I really do. But Notre Dame has too much, especially defensively. 9 starters back from a unit that allowed just 16 points per game last year. They're going to be even stronger on that side of the ball. I think Georgia Tech struggles to move the ball in this game. They get worn down by Notre Dame's strength offensively. Riley Leonard, a new revamped wide receiver core. They fall to the Fighting Irish, a little bit closer than you think, and then they fall on the road in Blacksburg. Ironically, The Yellow Jackets have won the last 4 games in Blacksburg. They don't meet all that often, but they have won the last 4 games in Blacksburg, but that streak does come to an end this year. I love this Virginia Tech team. I love what they're building in Blacksburg, what Brent Pry is doing. They have a lot of returning talent. Nearly 80% of the returning production as a whole from last year, 95% of which comes on offense. If this Georgia Tech defense is still a little bit shaky, they're going to struggle to stop Kyron Drones, their dual threat quarterback, Bayshaw Tootin, their very dangerous running back. This Virginia Tech team probably has a field day on the ground against the Yellow Jackets. They lose that game, enter their bye week, and they've got to win 2 of their final 3 to go bowling. Got to get 2 of their final 3 to go bowling. Luckily, 2 of those final 3 are at home, so that's luck on their side, right? Because that game against Georgia, probably not feeling too good about that. Can they beat Miami at home? Can they beat Miami? Last year, they pulled off a miracle. They should have lost to Miami, but Mario Cristobal made arguably the stupidest coaching move we have seen in years. Decided not to kneel the ball. Miami fumbled, and Georgia Tech got their miracle on that last-ditch deep bomb, 44-something yards by Haynes King to win the game 23-20 on the road. They only lost to Miami 33-30 back in 2021. They beat Miami 28-21 back in 2019. Georgia Tech, give them credit, even in the Jeff Collins era, they were fearless. They didn't care who they were playing, where they were playing, whether they were 50-point favorites or 50-point underdogs. They always came ready to play. I'll give them credit for that. And Brent Key certainly has his squad ready to go. This is a trap game for Miami, and the Hurricanes are going to fall victim to the trap. I love this Miami team. I love Cam Ward, Damian Martinez. I love the offense and everything they've got going. But you got a Miami squad now that could get a little bit of pressure on them, knowing they're in the hunt for an ACC title, maybe even a playoff berth. Now facing a Georgia Tech team off a week of rest with their backs against the wall. I think they get the job done. I think Georgia Tech's offense comes out swinging, pops Miami in the mouth early. They don't know what to do. The Hurricanes are playing from behind right from the get-go. And while it's back and forth for a little while, the Yellow Jackets come up with a clutch stop late in the game. And they beat the Hurricanes in a massive, massive upset. That is, if Miami does end up living up to the hype. And then they get another bye week. They just need to beat one of Georgia or NC State to go bowling. More than likely, it's going to be NC State if they're going to get it. And they are going to get it. Why? Because Georgia Tech, off another week of rest, faces an NC State team in the midweek. Those midweek games are always dangerous, guys. Midweek games, and they're not good to you if you're the road team. So NC State on a Thursday night has to travel to Atlanta. Georgia Tech, everybody kind of knowing if we want to go bowling, we've got to win this game. Senior day on top of that, I should add. And NC State, when they play Georgia Tech, this will be the best offense the Wolfpack has faced maybe all year, but certainly the best offense they faced since they played Tennessee all the way back in week 2. They're not going to face many offenses that are this good, this fast, this electric all year long. And I think this NC State defense, it does lose a handful of key pieces from last year, isn't going to know what to do when they take on the Yellow Jackets at home in front of a crazy crowd as they honor their seniors, as they fight for their bowl lives. NC State's going to be very, very good this year. But I don't think they're going to have enough to come on the road and get the job done against the Yellow Jackets. This team is too good to slip up here. This team is too good to miss out on the postseason. Georgia Tech gets the win. They beat NC State, maybe pull off back-to-back upsets, which isn't far-fetched when you realize that 9 of the 11 wins under Brent Key have come as underdogs. They win against Miami off the week of rest. They win against NC State off the week of rest. And, of course, they fall to Georgia. They held their own against the Bulldogs last year. Only lost 31-23, but they've lost 6 straight to their in-state rivals. They now have to go to Athens, a very difficult place to play. Georgia simply just going to have too much across the board, as we know. But ultimately, Georgia Tech finishes 6-6 and makes another bowl game, back-to-back bowls, for the first time since 2013 and 2014. Well, that might be a disappointment to some. This schedule, guys, is just very, very tough. It's hard to navigate. Maybe you think they're going to beat Syracuse. Maybe you think they beat Notre Dame in an upset. Who knows? At the best, I think Georgia Tech can get 7-5. At the best, I think 6-6 with this schedule is more realistic. I feel very confident about them winning another bowl game under Brent Key. And I know for dang sure to never count him out, regardless of what the spread may be and regardless of who they may be going up against. This Georgia Tech team is dangerous. If the schedule was a little bit lighter, I'd be calling for a lot more wins. But regardless, another successful season, another fun season for the Yellow Jackets. And I'm going to say that he is continuing a fantastic, fantastic rebuild in Atlanta that's only going to get better over the next few years. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of those expert picks and those exclusive newsletters. Do not miss out on that and become a member of our GE Nation. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.